The world of Pokemon is renowned for having all sorts of colorful and nostalgic designs for Pokemon. But beyond the average look you'd see from them, there lies a much more rarer coloring that these Pokemon possess, and we like to call them shiny Pokemon. Possessing only a 1 in 4096 encounter rate, it's not just a matter of patience to find these Pokemon, but rather a question of luck. So in today's video, we will be attempting to beat the entirety of Pokémon Brick Bronze by using shiny Pokemon only. And as per usual, we will be doing a hardcore Nuzlocke of this, where any Pokemon that faints has to be boxed forever, and no items can be used in battle. Now of course, because this challenge is going to be time consuming and I wouldn't want to spend a decade of my life looking for shiny Pokemon because, you know, I have a life. I will be using the raw powers and the shiny charm in this game that gives us a 32 times multiplier, transforming our encounter rate into a 1 in 128. So will I have the luck I need to get through this challenge? We'll find out soon enough. I start off the journey once more in Minutes Town and immediately make a dash towards the professor's Pokemon lab to get my starter. But unlike any regular trainer who just receives one and leaves, I'm forced to constantly rejoin and keep trying until I end up getting myself a shiny. For this, my decision was initially going to be Sprigatito as my shiny starter of choice, but because I was worried that my luck ends up being bad, the run could be potentially over as soon as I reached Gym 2. So I end up switching to Charmander for this run to make matters easier. And let's just say that throughout this whole ordeal, and taking into consideration the fact that I can't even use my raw power before I obtain my starter, this meant that I was now stuck with a 1 in 2046 shiny encounter rate, since all I had active was the shiny charm. So after a long, agonizing, painful, and emotional 10-hour long sit, yes, that's actually 10 hours right there on the screen, I managed to finally obtain the shiny Charmander that I nicknamed Gojira, and I could finally begin my run. God forbid I have to sit through that cane ever again. I chose to ignore Route 1 since the encounters are pretty bad even when leveled up, and I didn't want to spend more time hunting something that's not doing me much. So I make a straight run towards Gale Forest and spend around 50 minutes in the grass patch here hoping to get something as good as a shiny Nidoran or shiny Nimble, but of course my luck starts to go awry and I end up getting a shiny Squirtle instead. So I just catch it and name it Alvin. Linda proves to be quite a decent battle this time. Yeah, I have not forgotten that previous time, so thank God. And I'm able to cross the bridge to reach Route 3, where my hopes here is to catch at least a decent electric type around here. I wish to get a shiny electric here, but yet again, I end up gaining something else, and this time it's a Pachirisu, which I'm not happy, but I'm not angry at since it's still an electric type, so I name it Hamtaro. Sadly, when I got to the EV NPC to shiny hunt it, I completely forgot to turn off autosave, so the moment I received the EV from him, it saved and I cannot soft reset for a shiny anymore. Once I train up some of the squad to the level cap of 14, I begin to tackle the first gym. I lead with Alvin as Shinx goes for tackle, dealing some damage before I retaliate back with another tackle of my own. But Shinx pulls off a critical hit charge beam here, not only taking me to 14 HP, but also getting a special attack boost, so I end up switching out to Gojira here, and I go for Ember, which deals disappointing damage. To add insult to injury, Shinx goes for charge on 2 occasions, further making Ember hit for fewer damage. And thanks to my minus attack nature here, I don't even deal enough with Scratch, and on the moment I get it to red, Shinx decides to land another critical hit tackle before going down to a Scratch. Meaning once Chad's Pikachu comes out, I'm forced to switch out and this time into Hamtaro. I was not honestly scared since I basically resist every move Pikachu has, and I can potentially punish it since Pachirisu knows Bite, which doubles the power with each hit it receives. So with 2 bites and finally a quick attack to seal things off, I earn myself the Arc Badge and I make my way towards Route 4, where I finally get somewhat lucky and end up finding a shiny Stunky here who I catch and name Pepe Le Pew after the Looney Tunes character. On Route 5, I ran around this grass patch before receiving a global message from the moderators that the server was shutting down in 5 minutes to update. So I stayed in until the very end with the idea that I'm not gonna find a shiny at all. That is until...
Pokemon, go!
I somehow end up catching it and saving before the server shuts down. If that wasn't an adrenaline rush moment, I don't even know what is. On my way to Brimber City, I managed to evolve Charmander into Charmeleon, and Jake stops me for a battle that goes just as you would expect it to, with complete domination right before I meet up with him yet again alongside Sebastian, sending me towards the entryway of Mount Igneous to stop Team Eclipse. I also decide to not shiny hunt around this area since I don't have anything specific I want to get, so the main 5 on me is more than enough, and I reach the Eclipse admin, defeat him, and foil his plans via Groudon, and I can finally head towards the second gym. None of the trainers here could give me any trouble, considering Donphan and Charmeleon could easily take out anything in one go, so it's not long before I make my team at the level cap of 25, including the evolution of Alvin into Greedent and Cocofanto into Donphan, and challenge Sebastian and his fire types. I lead with Charmeleon against his Litleo and go for Dragon Rage since I will resist basically every move that this thing has to offer, and it decides to throw the turn as it goes for Noble Roar, which doesn't bother me much since Dragon Rage always deals 40 HP as damage. So once Litleo falls, Growlithe comes out and I yet again go for another Dragon Rage as it uses Overheat, which deals laughable damage, right before it falls to another one. Finally it was this Magmar, and this thing was quite scary since it lands a critical hit feint attack that made me scared of wanting to attack another turn. So I make a safe play here and swap into Alvin, who can survive anything Magmar has to offer, and then take it out with a Body Slam to defeat Sebastian and earn myself the Brimstone badge. On Route 7, it was time for me to shiny hunt yet again, and this time my hopes were either a Rolls or a Meryl, since a water type can help me with plenty of the trainers that are ahead of me, while Rolls will spare me a lot of Team Eclipse fights with its dual Psychic and Fairy typing. But at this point, I realize that I'm asking for way too much, and the game just ends up giving me a shiny Whipper instead, so I just take it and name it Derpy. And then I head towards the Lumberjack Shack, with which I just make quick work of before finally reaching Laguna Lake. Because I now have access to this diving machine, I figured that if I could obtain a fossil around here, I'll shiny hunt it over anything else that I could face for, such as Magikarp, since fossil Pokemon are really good. So after a quick search underwater, I end up finding both the Dome and Helix fossil, and as much as I love Omastar, I didn't want to have another pink shiny, so I chose to revive and shiny hunt Kabuto, which took me around an hour and a half to finally achieve, and I can name it Maka. Before moving towards Route 8, where I try to find a shiny Riolu, but I end up receiving a shiny Baniri instead, so I capture it and name it Sniffles. And then I pursue the most boring 2v2 fights in the history of Pokemon with Jake, as well as hard carrying him, evolve Stunky into Skuntank, and finally reaching Groves Cove City, to which I instantly make a dash towards the lighthouse, where I run around once more to see what I could get from here, and I end up getting a shiny Shellos, whom I catch and name Koopa. Charmeleon also evolves into Charizard, and I battle against the rest of the Team Eclipse goons before watching the usual Kamehameha come out of Kyogre, and I now have access to the third gym. So after leveling up to 37, I challenge Quinn and his water types, and I lead with Pachirisu against Wailmer and just spam Electro Ball to get 3-hit KO'd, since my second Electro Ball gets a low roll, and when Gorbis comes out, I carry on with clicking Electro Ball, as it also survives on just 1 HP thanks to a stupid low roll, and I can finally eliminate it before Huntail comes out, and thankfully this time 2-hit KO it with Electro Ball to earn myself the float badge. After meeting up with Jake and Tess, the two of which I battle and can walk away safely, this is the part where rather than speaking, I'll just let the montage do the talking for me, since we have a plethora of encounters ahead of me, just before I reach Antheion City. Once I do reach Antheion City, I talk to Gerald and the rest of the gang, go towards the electrical power plant to make my Rotom into Rotom Wash, and I decide to gamble my life away as I try to play this hammer-on minigame in the hopes of acquiring Hatena. But this is just pure garbage. This game is rigged to the core. This is arguably the most scam thing I have ever spent my life on. This stupid minigame decides to count perfect hits whenever it feels like it. Like at this. I hit it on the red so many times and it doesn't even count as a perfect score. But when I do hit yellow, it's all of a sudden a perfect hit? What kind of bullshit is that? I tried so many times to get it used to it, but no, it just decides when it counted. So after a wasted hour and a half of my life, I give up on shiny hunting Hatena and I just go towards the 4th gym to train my Pokemon there, and once I'm finished, I challenge Steven and his flying types. The battle is pretty easy with access to Rotom Wash now. His first Staraptor survives the shockwave and hits me for half health with close combat before falling to another shockwave. His upcoming Skarmory uses Aerial Ace after I take advantage of setting up a substitute, and then I go for shockwave which doesn't kill it, and it allows Skarmory to break my substitute with Slash. So I set up another one to prepare myself against his upcoming Aerodactyl, which when it does come out, I easily kill it with a Hydro Pump and still retain my substitute since it went for Aerial Ace. His second Pokemon Staraptor survives another shockwave, but because I had my substitute up, I eat the Aerial Ace just fine and take it out with another shockwave. But against Braviary, I decide to switch into Charizard, but Braviary scares me with the amount of damage it dealt with Crush Claw, so I send out Donphan and go for a risky play here with Rollout. Braviary chips away at my health, but thankfully I survive with just 4 HP left to spare, and I can take out the Braviary to end the battle and earn myself the Soaring Badge. I meet up with Tess at the sewers, initiate some fun 2v2 battles because all I do here is click Earthquake and I kill everything in sight, and I find Jay captured by Team Eclipse with Cypress being the mastermind. So I'm forced to battle him too, and stupidly enough also force Absol to be on the team. So once I switch out into Charizard against his Venusaur, he opts to go for Solar Beam as I finish it off quickly with the combination of Flamethrower and Wing Attack. Then against his Feraligatr, I switch out into Rotom Wash and can easily take it out with 2 Shock Waves. To my surprise, I outspeed the upcoming Blaziken and I'm able to land a free Hydro Pump. But with Torterra, I grow hesitant of switching out since if I send out Charizard, I could get hit with a Stone Edge here, but I decide to take my chances and Torterra throws by going for Earthquake, so I'm able to blast off a Flamethrower for a clean kill. Then, when Samurott comes out, I decide to use Lopunny over Rotom Wash instead because if Rotom comes out, he will overlevel and go to 58, which would be bad since I need it for the 5th gym, but Samurott goes for Dragon Tail and it forcefully brings back my Rotom, meaning now it will receive EXP and overlevel. This really frustrated me, so I bring back Lopunny and go for Dizzy Punches until it gets confused by 1 and it hits itself in confusion, so I am free to take it out with a final quick attack. Lastly was Delphox and I just bring out Skuntank to finish it off with a clean Night Slash. So while I'm glad to beat Cypress, overleveling Rotom is a little troublesome since it was my best answer for Gym 5, but we'll have to figure out a solution soon. So once I'm done stopping the Team Eclipse grunt from bombing Antheion, I make my way towards Route 11 and not too long after into Iridia City. After I went to my PC to bring back Derpy the Quagsire in the hopes of doing something with this gym, I also decide I didn't want to shiny hunt Snorlax nor even anything else around here, so I just make my way towards the ruins to find the gym leader, save him from the Eclipse grunts, and go straight to the gym since I had a plan in mind, but then this happened. And now I am forced to travel back all the way to Rose Cove Beach, grind my last and final hope for this stupid gym right here, the Hoppip that I got from Route 10. So after evolving it into Skiploom and then Jumplove, as much as I did not want to use this, cause please take a look at these god-awful stats, man. I go against my better judgment and just tackle the 5th gym while it's stuck at level 50 because I was confident enough. I lead with Jumplove against Quagsire and I wasn't sure if this thing had Ice Beam, so I just kept spamming Leech Seed, Sleep Powder and Double Team, being able to reach +6 evasion even though Quagsire did show it had Ice Beam, but I managed to avoid it, and this whole strategy lasted all the way until Excadrill, where it did manage to get a hit in, and even worse with Poison Jab, which managed to poison me and I can't heal back all the damage dealt to me via Leech Seed stall. So when Excadrill does fall down, my hopes here are Garchomp misses and I land my Leech Seed. But sadly, Jumplove falls here, so I try to stall out Garchomp as much as I could and I send out Lopunny and then go for Bounce for free damage in both Leech Seed and the semi-vulnerable turn in Bounce. But sadly, after Garchomp goes for Bulldoze, I have no choice here but to sack my Lopunny, so it too falls. And then I can safely send in Charizard to use Fly and finish the job to earn myself the Crater Badge, with which this battle could have gone much more better if I still had my Rotom-Wage underleveled, but the fault is mine for not properly EXP managing. On Route 12, I spent a couple hours trying to shiny hunt something here such as Scraggy, but I just didn't get a single thing and I grew demotivated to even carry on with shiny hunting around here, so ultimately I chose to ignore Route 12 and headed towards Route 13 to try shiny hunting a Fungus here. But what I was never expecting at all from this was finding the Halloween exclusive Shiny Hunter that has a 1 in 500 chance to spawn anywhere as my encounter here, so I end up catching it and naming it Boo. So after a quick visit to the trade resort, I trade the Hunter to evolve it into a Gengar and I reach Floaroma City, where I immediately entered the 6th gym since I didn't really need a whole team with me to battle the gym leader's grass types, and Charizard can just set up the sun by Mega Evolving into Charizard Y, and I can just click Flamethrower on everything to earn myself a quite easy Harvest Badge. On Route 14, I try to see if I can find a shiny Beldum around here, but I end up getting a shiny Loudred, and after reaching the entrance to Route 15, I'm stopped by Jake and his goons, so I just make quick work of him and begin to shiny hunt for Route 15, where the hopes are for a shiny Snover, but when has it ever been my way, so I end up getting a shiny Snorunt. And to add insult to injury, the game crashes the moment I catch it, and I didn't save, meaning as soon as I rejoin, the Snorunt is gone. So ultimately, I throw a fit and I decide that I don't want to shiny hunt anymore, so I just decide to finish the game by using what I have. So upon reaching Frostvale City, I backtrack a little to train my team back to the level cap of 74, and I also make a quick stop to the Battle Coliseum to make a few preparations for the 7th gym by teaching Rotom-Wage Will-O-Wisp. And then I could start my battle against Zeke and his dark types. The Honchkrow falls to a singular discharge, the Crocodile falls to a Hydro Pump, I use Will-O-Wisp on Bisharp, then set up Substitute whenever it tries to use Sucker Punch as I chip away with discharges, but before it does fall, it breaks Substitute, so when Umbreon comes out, I go for another Substitute as it uses Toxic, which makes me free to just click Discharge to my heart's desire. The second Crocodile also falls to a Hydro Pump, and also Zeke's Mega Houndoom, which earns me a pretty straightforward Contrast Badge. As I head to Port Deca, Tess wants me to battle me, and although as much as I want to say this went really smoothly, I sadly had to say goodbye to Skuntank, because even though I managed to burn the Haxorus, Swords Dance and Outrage deals way too much damage for my liking, and a critical hit Outrage managed to kill my Skuntank. This was sort of bad, losing my Dark type before the Ghost Gym, since it would have been a breeze, but now I need to find an alternative to this loss, so as I slide down the mountain towards Cosmos Valley and then soon after into Port Deca, I receive the Surf HM from Brad bring out my shuttles to fit the spot that Pepe Le Pew left, and I can surf all the way towards Crescent Town, where I find the Team Eclipse base and begin to raid their hideout, and then into the main admin room where I can find the button that unlocks the prisoner cells, and I chase after my parents and Cypress, kidnapping them to Route 18. Of course, Jake tries to stop me, but as usual, Donphan deals with both Zebstrika and Nidoking with Earthquake, Slowbro is dealt with by Rotom-Wash alongside his Arcanine, and both Delmice and Vaporeon are dealt with by Charizard, since upon Mega Evolving into Charizard Y, I can take it out with Solar Beam. So with that complete, I make my way towards Route 18 and eventually into the Demon's Tomb. Cypress gives your typical villainous monologue about world domination, and then I initiate my second battle against him, and I lead with Rotom-Wash against his Greninja, and I defeat it with a Discharge. And once his Decidueye comes out, I switch into Charizard that can knock it out with 2 flamethrowers, but this Incineroar was nothing short of annoying, because even when I send out Donphan to deal with it, it manages to get a stupid burn with Flame Blitz, halving my attack power, and I can no longer kill his Incineroar nor his Empoleon with Earthquakes, forcing me to switch out into Rotom-Wash, but Incineroar stupidly lands a critical Outrage, putting me deep in the red, but at least I can eliminate it with a Discharge. Empoleon could barely escape me here, so I'm safe to blast out 2 Discharges since it goes for Steel Wing, and against Sceptile, I'm free to swap out Charizard and Mega Evolve it into Charizard Y to nuke the Sceptile with a Flamethrower. And between the battle of Charizards, it ends up going smoothly since I use Air Slash and get a flinch, allowing me to land the second one and finish Cypress off one last time, before Jake tosses him into the portal and he makes a heroic sacrifice after Hoopa goes on a rampage, leaving the fate of the world to me, but I can just cook the Hoopa with relative ease. So with the world pretty much saved, I head back home with my parents, and there was only one thing left for me to do in this run to earn myself the 8th badge and finish this run for good. So with one final training off camera to the level cap of 85, I'm ready to face off against Captain B and her ghost types. I lead with Rotom-Wash against her Gengar since it loves to go for Destiny Bond first thing, so Discharge doesn't KO it instantly, and on the next turn, Gengar loses Destiny Bond's effect, allowing me to kill it. Then from here, I send in Charizard against the Decidueye, Mega Evolve it into Charizard Y, and I can freely click Flamethrower on basically his entire team, save Mega Sableye that survives one, but it still ultimately falls to another Flamethrower, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I managed to complete a Pokemon Frontier Hardcore Nuzlocke using only shiny Pokemon. This video was quite mentally challenging with all the shiny hunts and some stuff in my life occurring, but I'm glad I was able to reach all the way until the end. And if you reached this far into the video, consider dropping a like and subscribe to this channel as it helps me out a lot, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.